Here we go, College Football Payoff Podcast. We are back. It's week 7.
Episode 64.
There we go. That's Fuji. I'm Dan. And coming off of last week, kind of a rough week. I was feeling good, and then I ended up going 1-2. So that's the 11-9 record right now. The lone win was because I got out in front of Ohio State early. Let me pull that up real
A
quick
little minus 19.5.
for Ohio State.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. I mean, that's what CLV means. I mean, get minus 19.5, you win. Minus 20.5, you lose.
Yeah, and it was the game script where, so I was actually playing softball on Saturday, and I was kind of watching the game, kind of listening to it, and I was like, man, Maryland's gonna win this fucking game. They're gonna win. We looked bad, but I don't know. Ohio State's up in the air with me. I'm gonna probably stay away from them for the rest of the year.
I know where I'm fading them.
Yeah,
2 weeks.
yeah. Ole Miss, Arkansas. I took the over 63 in that. That was a loss. That game was rough, and then. Actually, the worst game that I picked, probably of the season so far, it was Kansas State minus 12.5 against Oklahoma State. That game just never had a shot.
Yeah. I had minus 10.5 on Kansas State, and I mean, it's good for my over 6.5 win total for Oklahoma State, but what the hell? I mean, Oklahoma State hasn't played like that all year.
No, that was a tough game. I did win a little money line with Iowa State last week. That was my one money line pick, and I also little note here. I know my buddy Jarrett listens to the podcast. We were playing softball. We're the middle infielders, so we have some kind of a rapport. He's a better professional sports gambler, and we had a break in between the games. We decided, you know what, we got a $10 free bet. Let's throw a big ass parlay on there, money line parlay. I had 20 picks. It was a $10 free bet plus like 10,000 something. I hit 19 of the 20. My one loss was Rice. I got home and I saw JT Daniels at quarterback, and I go, fuck, I lost.
What are you putting Rice in a parlay for?
Just something to do. It boosted the odds a little bit. It got me over the $1,000 mark, so I figured, why not?
I only parlay my free bets.
That's all. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah,
It was
I get a free bet and I parlay it. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was fun. And then Billy was 2-0 going into last week. He took Texas minus 6.5 in Red River. Listen, that game was tough.
Billy's in jeopardy. He drops below 500.
Yeah, we're gonna have to have
no
a
Billy spot anymore.
Listen, he said he did his research big time this week. He texted me throughout the day. He had a few that he was going with, and he finally settled on this one. So I'm with him on it. But yeah, he knows. He knows the stakes are out there. I told him he better get his head out of his ass, but I think he's come up with something good this week. So, all right, what was your record for last week?
1-2. Not the greatest week. Had my one win was the Washington State UCLA under 59.5. Read that one through and through. Easy win. And then my first loss was Colorado -4. They were up by a touchdown until the last minute of the game, and then kicked a field goal to cover, or to not cover, and only won by 3. So that was great. Thank you, Colorado defense, for that loss. And then again, thank you, Mario Cristobal, for not only not getting your team up against the team that lost to a MAC school that week, but thank you for losing the game and also ruining my Miami 80-1 national championship ticket. So when I made that handicap, I forgot that my Cristobal was a retard. So, but that's.
I don't care. You do whatever you want.
Yeah. Hot take for you. Cristobal's a retard.
That was.
You know, he did that before when he was the coach at Oregon. You know that happened to him?
No.
You got to look at it. Was like the 2018 game against Stanford. They should have taken a knee. They ran the ball, fumbled. Stanford covered, kicked a field goal, went to overtime, and Stanford won. So this is the second time that this has happened to in his career. This doesn't happen to 99.999% of coaches in football. And this happened to this guy twice. He's an elite recruiter, terrible game manager. But you also saw the Twitter clip. Did you see he turned to his offensive coordinator, was like, hey, you should maybe knee it out here. And
I didn't see that, no.
So I can't put the full blame on him, but you're the head coach. So you don't tell him hey, maybe you say kneel the game, you only beat Georgia Tech by 3 points anyways. So what are you even doing messing around?
And
So
that was my next thing was how many coaches are on the sideline at a college football game or in the box, and not one person could have been like, "Dude, why are we doing this?"
yeah, is everybody really that scared to like speak up and be like, you don't even have to be like, hey, coach,
Yeah, because
like
if it's happened twice in his career, I feel like he's kind of scaring these people to be like, "Oh no, you're right,"
yeah,
and just or they want him to get canned somehow, some way. But
I don't know. He's such a good recruiter. I mean, he will
that
make
was
that, and that's the lifeblood of having a successful college football program. But man, like a lot of coaches have get back coaches. I think like Cristobal should have let's not fuck up the game coach.
yeah,
So
that's a good coaching
that
title
one
to
that one
have.
hurt. I'm really happy I passed on Miami to make the playoff 12-1 though.
Hmm.
So happy about that now. Well, Miami still has a chance if they okay if they beat Clemson. They have North Carolina this week, which is a much better win. Then they have to beat Florida State at the end of the year, then win the ACC championship. They have a chance to make it to the playoffs still.
Yeah,
So,
they do.
but do they deserve it? No. And will I be cheering for them? No. So, what else did we learn from the college football sphere last week?
So, like I said, I wasn't able to really watch too much of the action. I tried to keep up as much as I could, but pigging back on last week, what I said with Notre Dame. I mean, they went out and they lost another game. They lost to Louisville. Yeah, it's Louisville at home. It's kind of a tough game, tough place to play. But once again, Louisville or Notre Dame loses another game, and it's kind of the same thing every single year with Notre Dame. It's the hype. They're not in a conference. Are they going to make the playoff? They got a new quarterback, all this stuff, and they come out and they still lose these games. And that's back to back weeks where they just look terrible. Actually, 3 weeks in a row. I wouldn't say they looked terrible against Ohio State, but they weren't. Sam Hartman didn't play like everyone thought he was going to play against a superior opponent. And then it's just kind of trickled down. So it's a rough time out there in South Bend. Um, Other than that, yeah, Ohio State, like, I still love Maryland's offense. I thought Maryland's offense is going to be really, really good for the rest of the year. Ohio State still has a lot to figure out. The Big Ten, AP rankings right now, I don't think rankings, I think we've said this before. I don't think AP rankings should be a thing until, the college football rankings come out towards the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now you have Ohio State at 3, Michigan at 2. Ohio State shouldn't be 3.
Wait, third ranked team in the country right now.
That's last I checked, they were.
Wait, let me. I just verify that. There's no way they're number 3 in the country right now.
I can almost bet my entire bankroll that they are.
They're number 3 in the country right now. They
They're
do
not a
not
number
deserve.
three
They don't
team.
deserve that. Yeah.
No,
And if they get into the college football playoff with one loss, I'll be very pissed off. This
not
is it's not like I want Ohio State to win. I'm not even trying to diss your team. Like I would rather have them win than Michigan from a fan perspective. But this team just isn't it.
no. And I don't think. Listen, they're gonna have a tough road. They're not gonna win against Michigan this year. It's just not gonna happen. Ryan Day is gonna keep that narrative of can't win the big games when it matters, can't win the only game that really matters every year. Um,
And when he does win a big game, he
he goes after a
doesn't know how to
90-year-old
compose
coach.
himself. Yeah, tries to fight a 90-year-old.
What else did you learn? Anything?
Yeah, I learned that. Well, okay, so last week on the podcast, I was all excited about the college football season. I was really like, wow, maybe Georgia isn't that good. Maybe, you know, Michigan isn't that good. Maybe the gap isn't that large anymore, and things will be really shaken up, and we'll get a very unique college football playoff this year. And what I learned last week is that we're not going to get that. It's going to be 1 Georgia, 2 Michigan. Probably there'll be another rematch for Oklahoma, Texas. If both those teams are either undefeated or have one loss, that winner will go. And then the winner of the ACC if it's Florida State. So I mean, right now my college football playoff would be 1 Georgia, 2 Michigan, 3 Florida State, 4. Then I guess Oklahoma, but I still think Texas beats them at the end of the year. So
Hmm.
that's my current playoff CFP prediction is Georgia, Michigan, Florida State, Texas.
Yeah, that
Those are
sounds
the
about
four.
right.
Just because I think, obviously, just like every year, the Pac-12 will cannibalize itself. Washington at home this week, think they could win, but even if they do win, do they have a gauntlet of a schedule coming up? So maybe if Oregon or Washington go undefeated, but down the stretch after this game, Washington gets Arizona State and Stanford, easy dub, and then 4 straight weeks they have to go USC, Utah, Oregon State, Washington State. If Washington goes undefeated and still loses the Pac-12 championship, I would put them in if they
Yeah.
come out of that undefeated. So I'll hold out hope for them, I guess.
Yep. All right. Well, there it is. The week in recap, and now we're ready for week 7. 3 picks on the board for each of us. Do you have anything for Thursday or Friday?
No, I'm all out on this week's Thursday. I mean, I'll I want West Virginia to win tomorrow, Thursday.
I want them
So,
to. Yeah, Thursday. All right. Well, I'm going to start us off then. I got a Friday night game,
ooh,
Pac-12 game. It's Stanford and Colorado. Stanford 1-4 on the year. Colorado 4-2. This game is in Boulder at 10 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN. Colorado is a 10.5 point favorite. Let me just double check that.
I will. I'll you just keep riffing. I'll
Sweet.
pull up here.
So yeah, Stanford, they had their bye last week. They got throttled at home by Oregon, 42-6. They were 27-point dogs in that game. Meanwhile, Colorado, they went on the road. They won a game against Arizona State. They ended up being 3-point favorites, so they won 27-24. This game right here, I think, is a tale of two offenses. Um, Stanford right now, I think their quarterback Ashton Daniels, he's injured. He's questionable. He only has like 500 passing yards on the year. They have another injury at wide receiver with John Humphreys. He's got 71 yards on the year. The main thing with this team, though, and when I say it's the story of two offenses, is Colorado has one of the top passing quarterbacks in the nation with Shadur Sanders. Stanford doesn't have a single skill player that's averaging more than 50 yards per game. Shadur Sanders has almost twice as many touchdowns as Stanford's entire offense. He's got 16, they have 9. Both teams lost to USC. So Colorado's 2 losses this year were against teams that are currently in the top 10, USC and Oregon. They've won every other game. Stanford's been struggling. They're moving to the ACC next year. So this swan song of a season in the Pac-12 is rough form right now. Um, both teams did lose to USC, but Colorado put up 41 points. They lost by 7. Stanford could only score 10 points, and they lost by 46. That kind of right there tells me, these teams are in 2 different leagues. Colorado, they're coming off a close win, kind of boosting the morale a little bit. Stanford coming off that, just getting shellacked at home against Oregon. Now they have to go to a hostile environment in Colorado, which you can call it a hostile environment because that's the definition of home field advantage out there in Boulder. Um, yeah, it's 2 different offenses here. We talk more about Colorado. Shadur Sanders has 2,000 plus yards through 6 games. Um, that's more than any other quarterback in the nation, actually.
Mhm.
72% of his passes are completed, 16 touchdowns, only the 2 interceptions. He looks like a professional style quarterback. Yeah, he can run, but he's a professional when he stands in the pocket and when you see him come off the sideline. The one problem I can see in this game, yeah, defense is a big issue, but Colorado's offensive coordinator has gone through some questionable decisions this year. I
Which
could
offensive coordinator? See, I like him a lot, but
I
but
like
he
him, but
does,
there's
yeah.
time when he does I'm not saying I don't like him, but man, there's some questionable times. So I don't know what's going to happen here, but I do know that they're going to score more points against an offense that can't really score points, even against Colorado's defense. Travis Hunter's still questionable for this game. If
Bring
he's
him
out,
back.
what's that?
Bring him back.
I want him to come
He needs
back.
to come back this week if I have any shot at
That's
him for
true.
Heisman. But he's off of most of the boards in sports books.
Yeah, and if he is out, senior Xavier Weaver, he's still the top threat. He's 43 catches on the year, 2 touchdowns. He's averaging close to 85 yards a game. Jimmy Horn Jr. is another receiving option, 4 TDs, just over 60 yards a game. I think this offense is going to go sixth in the conference in scoring, but the big thing is that Stanford cannot score points. Um, I think Dion's going to have them ready to go. I think this is a big number for the Buffaloes. I'm taking the number. What'd you get? Colorado
I
minus.
can get you -11.
Yep, Colorado minus 11. We'll keep it under 2 touchdowns. I like Colorado minus 11 in this one.
So I'll probably end up putting a small bet on Colorado Friday night. Um, but my only issue with this is that they really do play to the level of their competition. Outside of the Oregon game, and I guess they ended up pulling away from Nebraska at the end there, in the second half. But you go through their schedule, and Colorado State close game, um, Arizona State close game, a lot closer than the spread would have predicted. USC they got behind, but ended up coming back close game, and then even TCU first game of the year close game. So like I don't. It's hard for me to lay double digits. But they're at home and they're looking forward to a bye after this. They just need to get to the bye, so and reassess things before they have a gauntlet coming down the stretch too of tough Pac-12 play. So they really probably need this one, and then if they get one more out of they only pretty much have one chance to win after this game to get to bowl eligibility. So I say they definitely need it. So I'll roll with you probably, but I'm just worried about how they adjust their level of play to their opponents, and laying double digits is just a lot with how bad this defense is.
Yeah,
I'm still all for it, dude. I want Shador to throw up the watch. I want Travis Hunter to get 2 picks and two
I know. I want him to
touchdown
play.
catches. So I'm Travis Hunter's so fun to watch. I'll be watching this game regardless. So
Yep,
let's go Buffs.
beauty. All right, what's yours? What's your first play of the day?
It's a disgusting game.
Love it.
I think it's a Conference USA matchup.
Even better.
Not even sure if what conference they're in. I'm just gonna say Conference USA.
Sounds right.
We're gonna take a game that has to deal with a 2-3 team versus a 1-4 team.
Sounds
The
fun.
handicap is pretty simple. Navy's heading down to Charlotte on Saturday afternoon, 2 p.m. kick, and Charlotte is a home dog, and I will be taking them at +3.5. Got the number earlier today. It's still available at some places, and I think that half point's going to be. I mean, it's even more important, especially when you're going against a team with a run offense like Navy, like these military schools where the possessions are very few. That half point hook is a lot more important there. When it comes to Charlotte, they are 1-4 on the year. They have played a terrible. I mean, one of the toughest schedules for a school their caliber in the country. They did play an FCS opponent week one, ended up winning 24-3. But since then, they've had to play Maryland. They've had to play Georgia State, who's actually pretty surprisingly good this year. They've had to play Florida, and they've had to play SMU in back-to-back weeks. So this will be finally a really big talent downgrade for what they're used to playing, and I think they're going to take full advantage of it. Another thing that I love about this Charlotte team is that they're coming off of a bye, so they've had 2 weeks to prepare for this like triple option type defense, where teams that only have one week to prepare for it, very caught off guard. The third thing I love about this handicap is Biff Belichick, Charlotte's head coach, former hedge fund manager. Um, current Jim Harbaugh bought him on his Michigan staff, and a lot of the people associated with that program credit Biff Poggi for being the guy that turned around like Michigan, not just Harbaugh. He turned around personnel. Had he was the reason a lot of recruits went to Michigan. And if you just look at this guy, you can tell he's a football guy. I mean, I know that he, out of all guys, Biff Poggi is going to be able on 2 week notice to stop this triple option of Navy, which is very weak, and scheme up enough points at home to at least cover this 3.5. So whether they lose by field goal, win by field goal, we're good. Give me Charlotte plus 3.5.
Yeah, the biggest thing I think you brought up was the fact that they're coming off of a bye going against the triple option. You get that extra week to prepare for it. You can shut it down pretty much. I think it's going to be a little bit easier for them.
And when you tell your friends about this, you don't have to this pick. You don't have to go into much detail. Just 3 bullet points. Triple option off a bye, home dog with a step down in talent, and it's OG.
If Poji, if Poji's the big one. All right. Okay, let's keep it moving here. The 14th is Saturday, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Man, I'm all messed up. Rutgers, Michigan State. Everyone knows that how I feel right now about Michigan State, about that program. Um, and that's why I'm going to keep going against them and keep fading them. I'm going to get Rutgers in this one, -4.5. I like Rutgers. I don't like Michigan State. So I think this is an easy type of play for me. This is at Michigan State, but I think that stadium right now, the home field advantage has gone completely out the window for everything that's going on. Um, I think that's a stadium, that's a fan base, that's a team right now who's just trying to. It's at
Yeah,
Rutgers.
it's at Rutgers. So even better if you're taking Rutgers.
Oh, well, yeah, that's even way better, way better.
You are out of whack this week.
They messed it up because it says Rutgers versus Michigan State. Usually the home team. Yeah, you get your shit together, people. What's wrong with you? All right, well that makes it even better for me then. A defeated team that's trying to basically limp to the finish line already this early in the week or this early in the season in conference play. They're just trying to get to the next season and put this behind them. Now they got to go to Rutgers, who Rutgers is play. They always play pretty tough. Um, Michigan State's coming off a bye week, which could be detrimental to a team like this. They they lose to Iowa on the road. Rutgers, yeah, they were up against Wisconsin last week. That was a tough one, 11-point loss. But Wisconsin's a good squad. But Rutgers offense still, they're a gritty team. And when you have two kind of opposite sides of the coin with a team that wants to play rather than a team that wants to kind of get out of there, they're not going to be too jazzed up to go out to New Jersey to play this game. Um, the two wins for Michigan State on the year, Central Michigan and Richmond. They've lost their last three against actual teams. They got their asses kicked by Washington, 41-7, destroyed by Maryland, 31-9, and then 26-16 lost to Iowa. So right there, you got your first two Big Ten matchups you're losing. Um, and to make matters worse, that game against Iowa, they were up 16-13 going into the fourth quarter. They ended up getting outscored by an Iowa team who didn't even have their starting quarterback, 13-0 in the fourth quarter. Uh, Quarterback Noah Kim just 193 yards, but he threw 3 picks. The running back ran 20 times for 100 yards. Leading receiver had 79 yards. Offense is just in shambles for him. They failed to cover the spread in 7 of their last 8 road games. And they've lost 7 of their last 8 road games. So Michigan State's on a downslide. But we look at Rutgers, hot team to start the year, 4-1. They beat Northwestern, Temple, Virginia Tech, which, yeah, those are 3 games you should be winning. They lost to Michigan, 31-7. Came back, beat Wagner. So they're kind of going up and down. But when they play good opponents, they kind of struggled. This is not a good opponent that they're playing. But I'm gonna keep rolling here. I'm gonna roll with Rutgers. They're coming off that rough, like I said, rough showing last week or 2 weeks ago. No, last week Michigan State was on the bye. Um, 211 of their 275 yards were passing, 16 first downs. I just think this is go against Michigan State as much as you can. Yeah, they've shown that they can be, a competent team, but you can't seem to run on talented teams defensively. They gave up 220 yards to Iowa, which it's Iowa. You shouldn't be giving up points against a backup Iowa quarterback. 4 turnovers on offense, though. Michigan State's going to turn the ball over. They had undisciplined penalties, 10 penalties in that game. Michigan State has plenty of time to prepare, but I think they also have time to think about it more and more. I think this is easy. I'm going to keep fading Michigan State as much as I possibly can on the road. Yeah, that's easier. Rutgers minus, what did I say, 5.5 or 4.5?
You can get 4.5.
Rutgers minus 4.5. Give it to me.
Let's go. Um, I'm with you. One reason I like Gavin Wimsatt, Rutgers quarterback. He's actually probably the best quarterback they've had in since I could remember. And all of Michigan State's best players are hitting that portal. They're
Hmm.
not. I mean, this is just a team that's pretty much given up in my eyes. So I'll be with you here. I'll probably put a small bet on Rutgers this weekend.
Have Michigan State players already started leaving?
Yeah,
Yeah.
three of their top guys have already hit the portal.
Yeah, it's a lost season.
Because now that there's that 30-day transfer window that's opened, now Tucker's been like officially
Yep.
let go.
Yeah. So yeah, and Shiano, I like Shiano.
Yeah, I like Shiano too.
So
He's a Rutgers guy.
yeah, he really is.
All right,
All right.
I'm actually going to stay in the Big Ten with my next pick. And you just talked about him, Iowa, a team that beat Michigan State last week. We're fading them this week. I got a 9.5. If you're listening, you better go get that 9.5 now because I think that'll be gone by Thursday afternoon. Um, is there one left? Yes, there is here. Nice. Yeah. So this handicap's pretty simple. I don't know how Iowa's going to move the ball, and I think Wisconsin's good for 2 touchdowns, whether it's on the ground game with Braden Allen or through the air with Tanner Mordecai. They can get 2 touchdowns. I think this game could honestly end 14-0. I think Wisconsin could actually maybe run up the score. So I'd look at maybe some alt spreads. If you're looking at this, maybe a Wisconsin minus 17, a Wisconsin minus 21. But this game's at home. Iowa is not going to be able to move the ball at all. I mean, they couldn't move it with Cade McNamara at quarterback, and now that he's out for, I think, the season, right? Or is he just, yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's the
Yeah,
season.
now
Yeah.
that he's out for at least an extended
Yeah.
period of time. Um, so now they have to go to a backup who can't move the ball either. I am not. Iowa does have the best defense in the Big Ten. I will
Hmm.
say that. But if your offense is not gonna set you up with good field position, or if your offense is gonna be off the field in 3 plays like they usually are, and the defense is gonna get tired, I see this. Even if this game is close at halftime, you can't sustain that type of activity for a full game. So even if we need to hit it or start, moving here at the end of the third quarter, early fourth, I do think Wisconsin can pull away. I'm a big Tanner Mordecai fan, and Wisconsin played a very slow game last week against Rutgers. Um, and ended up winning by 11. I just think Wisconsin through and through should handle business here and just move on to the next week. And they keep playing like this, they're going to end up meeting Michigan in the Big Ten championship or Penn State
Yeah.
or Ohio State.
Mm, let's stay away from that.
But yeah, I mean, Iowa through 6 games is still averaging less than 250 yards a game on offense. I mean, against you can get away with that against teams like Western Michigan, but when it comes to playing the big boys and there's a clear coaching mismatch between Luke Fickell and Brian Ferentz.
Hmm.
I just don't. I might rebet this. I like it so much. So 4 o'clock on Fox. Tune in. Wisconsin minus 9.5, and look for some alt spreads.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the line. I also look at the total when you say that. It started at 37.5. That's dropped down to 34.5 now. Um, Usually that means they're not expecting Iowa to score many points in that game.
14-0 gets us home.
Yeah, and that could be a funder play too. If it stays at 34.5, I might get it. All right. Last pick for me. We're going to go with an undefeated team coming off a huge win at home. That's Louisville. They're minus 7.5 right now, going up against Pitt. This is a 6:30 game on Saturday. Um, Pitt's 1-4, Louisville 6-0. Right off the bat, the first thing that you think about in this game is letdown spot for Louisville. Big win against Notre Dame. Fans rushing the fields. They're feeling hyped. Now they got a slumping Pittsburgh team. I'm not worried about the letdown here. Um, Main reason is Louisville's offense is kind of for real, man. They're looking for a 7-0 start, first time since 2012. Jack Plummer is completing, he's a veteran. He looks like a veteran college quarterback. He's completing 66% of his passes, over 1,500 yards. Um, he's got a couple receivers out there who, Jamari Thrash and Huggins Bruce, they're 726 yards, 8 touchdowns. He also has Chris Bell, who has 7 catches on the year, but their offense is going to roll through their ground game in this game, averaging over 190 yards on the ground. Jawar Jordan leads the way. He's got 650 yards, 8 TDs. Their defense is allowing 17 points, 322 yards per game. Um, and you look over at Pittsburgh, they're trying to snap a little 4-game losing streak that they got going on here. Yeah, they've won 4 of their last 6 home games, but Phil Dracovic is completing 50% of his passes. He's thrown his touchdown to interception ratio is 2 to 1. He's 6 touchdowns, 3 picks on the year. It's going to be a rough go for Pittsburgh. Um, like I said, I'm a little bit of concern there for the letdown spot after beating Notre Dame last week, but I think about it. They're still an undefeated team. They have a top 25 scoring offense and scoring defense for that matter. Pittsburgh just they can't really do anything right. I actually think Pittsburgh and they're 122nd in total offense, 100 in scoring defense, and where is it here? Pittsburgh is they had a quarterback. They had a talk of a quarterback change. That's done. They got sophomore Christian Velu. Oh, there's a EUX at the end of his name, so I'm going to say Velu. He's a starter. I feel like that's going to be an issue for this offense because they really have no rushing attack to kind of lighten his load. So he's going to feel like he's got to go up against an undefeated team, a team that's rolling. He's going to have to, really keep the team on his back and keep up with the Louisville offense. It's going to be really, really hard for him. Um, I think Louisville rolls in this game. I think they go to 7-0, and Pittsburgh is just you're trying to weather a storm in this game. But I think a young quarterback who's getting a full out like, hey, you're the starter, it's your game. I think he puts a little too much pressure on himself to do everything in this one. And I really like Louisville. I like Plummer. So Louisville minus 7.5. Let's go get it right now.
Yeah, I don't know where Pitt's at as a program right now.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. All right, for my last pick, we are looking at a Maction game. Well, I guess it's not Maction because it's on a Saturday, but we're going to the MAC conference,
All right.
and we're going to take the pride of the MAC conference to cover this week, the Ohio Bobcats, minus 6.5. One, they're 5-1, should be 6-0. If Curtis Rourke doesn't get hurt, week 0 against San Diego State to beat that team, and
Yeah.
your Ohio Bobcats are already eligible in October. 5-1 team that I love. If wins against Iowa State, FAU, Bowling Green, and Kent. So, I mean, that Iowa State win's pretty impressive for a program the caliber of Ohio. But this is more of a fade against what I think the market is convinced Northern Illinois is. Northern Illinois is not a good team. They beat Akron last week, 55-14. But this was once you look into the box score and the game flow and the game actually turned out, this is a very, very misleading final score. For one, Akron was missing their starting quarterback, DJ Irons, who is one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the MAC. So they were already down. But on top of that, Northern Illinois scored 55 points, and I do know how, but I don't think they'll score 50 points again for the next 5 freaking years until they get better recruits there. But the way they scored was just crazy. Their longest scoring drive of the whole game last week was 6 plays. Their longest. Most plays they had on a scoring drive was 6, and they scored 55 points. So, just to run down a few, in the second quarter, they scored 4 times in the second quarter, 4 touchdowns. This is a summary of their scoring drives. 2 plays, 71 yards. 4 plays, 64 yards. three plays 53 yards and two plays 59 yards.
Jesus, it's like a
So
video game.
they were just hitting explosive play after explosive play after explosive play the whole game. They possessed the ball for less than 24 minutes in the game and gained 571 yards on offense.
Jesus, that
So
is a video game.
yeah, but this isn't because Northern Illinois is this great offense. It's because Akron absolutely folded when it
Right.
came to defending. So and on top of that, Northern Illinois is only 2-4. I mean, they lost to Tulsa, Nebraska, Toledo, and they lost their FCS game to open up the year this year. So, yeah, you can count me out on Northern Illinois. And if you're going to give me the pride of the MAC conference at less than a touchdown against a team that I think is overrated, I have to take the Bobcats and Curtis Rourke -6.5.
So I'm with you. The pride of the MAC conference. Yeah, I mean Akron, that's the biggest thing is you're scoring points, but if you don't know who the opponent is and then you look back, you go Akron, you're like, oh, makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think I agree. Action, man. I can't wait for it. All right. Oh, I got Billy's pick. Billy is back this week. He said he's coming back with a vengeance. He did some heavy research. He gave me a few plays. We talked it over. Um, and he came back. He said, "Listen, he likes USC over Notre Dame. USC over Notre Dame. I got him +3 there. He even likes them to. I think he likes them to win the game. He said the over in the game will be good for that one too. So I'm gonna lock him in with +3. Billy's best bet of the week. He's 2-1. He's looking to stay above 500. If he goes to 500, I'm gonna have a talk with him. But I
Well,
like it. I'm
well,
gonna
one shot left.
okay, and then I'll make sure you call him and say, hey, here's the deal. So Billy,
Ho-
lots riding on this week, buddy.
Honestly, I feel bad because I already took Notre Dame -2.5 earlier this week.
Oh, hey, we got
So,
a fight. I like
I
it.
mean, not an official pod pick, but I do have a small Notre Dame -2.5. Man, I just can't trust. Caleb Williams is awesome, and the USC defense is robbing him probably of a second Heisman. But I cannot take this USC defense, and I do love Notre Dame's run game at the end of the day. So, I mean, fourth primetime game in a row for them. They're coming off a loss. The pressure's gone. The pressure's gone for these guys at Notre Dame. They're not going to make the college football playoff. You know, I am worried there might be no sense of urgency, but Sam Hartman needs to help his draft stock still. Marcus Friedman still needs to keep his job. So I am rocking with a small bet on Notre Dame -2.5.
You know what? Billy and I are good cornhole partners. We call ourselves the Gruesome Twosome. I'm gonna ride with the Gruesome Twosome on
All
this
right.
one. I'm going to go with them because I think Caleb Williams is better than Sam Hartman. I think
Oh
Sam
yeah.
Hartman is shitting down his leg right now because Notre Dame is one of the most prolific programs in the country and he is failing. I think that's going to weigh on him. I think he's going to try to do too much. He's going to know that USC's defense is nothing. And he's going to know that this is a big game and he has to outshine Caleb Williams to kind of raise his draft stock. So I think Caleb Williams is going to be able to pick them apart. I think they're going to be able to handle Sam Hartman. I like having points. I'm going to one up it here, and I'm going to take a money line pick on this. I'm going to take
Uh-oh.
USC money line, and me and Billy we're gonna roll in this one. So sorry, buddy, but you're losing this one, and I'm glad it's not an official pod pick.
When Audrey asked to me, Notre Dame running back has 200 yards
Oh,
this
one of
week.
their 5 running backs that
We
they like to
will
use.
we will reconvene next week.
All right, we'll talk next week. Don't worry. All right.
You just want to run through these games real quick, see what's interesting, what's not.
Yeah. I'm running through it right now, just seeing if anything pops up.
Yeah, it's a pass for me. I mean, Ohio State, I'm worried about a little bit this week. Florida State, I think, could get caught sleeping.
I do
Um,
too. Yeah.
Iowa State, Cincinnati should be a good game.
hmm
Georgia Southern versus James Madison at noon on ESPN2 will be a good game.
Arkansas, Alabama.
I don't really like Arkansas this year.
No. Okay.
Texas A&M, Tennessee, and then finally, I mean, I lean. If I give some leans here, I would lean Purdue. I would lean Syracuse. I would take Bama. I'd lean Iowa State. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much just excited for the Pac-12 Super Bowl this weekend.
Wow,
Oregon
yeah,
versus
Oregon,
Washington.
Washington.
Yeah,
Yep,
that'll be.
I'm
We
taking the over in that game.
um,
67. I'll take the
we're
over.
still going to be looking for Michael Penix Jr. over 37, 50 and a half yards this year. So that's at 1999. So we're looking at that number. And yeah,
Kansas, Oklahoma State. I like Kansas minus the points, minus 3.5, or actually minus 3. I like Kansas a lot against Oklahoma State. Um, Louisville Pitt. We already talked about Arizona Wazoo. Dude, I like Arizona plus the points in that. Not a money line, but plus eight,
yeah,
8.5.
they're always in games. Tex-
LSU, yeah.
Texas State at 16 UL Monroe. I love Texas State's offense. Um,
LSU and Auburn.
Man, I mean, it
Um,
would just be hilarious if Miami comes out and beats North Carolina this week. So
yeah, they're 4 point underdogs there. Kentucky, Missouri. I like Kentucky in that minus 2.5. I like the Kentucky team. Duke, NC State. I think that's gonna be a really good game. Man, that's gonna be a really good one. I think I
should be.
might go with
Is
Duke.
Riley Leonard good?
I don't know.
Will he be healthy? I think he
I
will
don't know
be.
if he will or not.
Fun fact about the NC State Duke game: among both teams, the leading rusher is Riley Leonard.
Oh my God, never mind then. Jesus. If Riley Leonard's okay, then I'm taking Duke. If not, I'm taking
Yeah.
NC
And then
State
Air
for
Force
sure.
Wyoming is going to be a good game. There's a lot of, I mean, if you're a college football junkie, there are a lot of good games this week.
Yeah,
So
it's gonna be a fun,
they're
fun
just,
little
it's
weekend.
not high profile games.
No, not by any means.
Outside of the Pac-12 Super Bowl.
Yep. All right. Quick recap, and then we'll get out of here. I have my Friday game is Colorado minus 11, and then I go on to Saturday at Rutgers minus 4.5 and Louisville minus 7.5. Willie's best bet. 2-1 on the year. He's going for 3-1, trying to stay afloat. He's got USC plus 3. I'm also going to sprinkle a little money on that for the money line and ride with Billy. All right, give me your card, and then we'll get out of here.
This week I am taking Charlotte plus 3.5. The Fighting Biff Pogies. I'm taking Wisconsin minus 9.5 and Ohio minus 6.5.
Beauty. That's all she wrote. Yeah, another fun week. We're getting closer and closer to the end of the year. We're starting to see the rankings should start to take place, and it should be a fun end of the year. But hit them with the socials really fast so we can wrap it up.
Follow Dan at dposk13 on Twitter. Follow me at Fuji Bets. And most of all, follow the pod at CFP_pod. Tweet us, tag us, talk shit, do whatever.
Please. Yeah, hot takes galore from Fuji. We're wherever you can get podcasts. We're on Spotify. We're on iTunes. We're on SoundCloud. We're on YouTube. Wherever you find us, we're there. Share it with everyone. Comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. It helps us grow. And like I said, we want to hear from you guys. So let us know what you think. That's all I got. Do you got anything else?
Yeah, fight me on Twitter.
Fight him on Twitter. He's always taking fights. All right. That's Fuji. I'm Dan. See you next week.